Punctuality, so we're gonna get started. It's 7 o'clock. You know, my goal is we're here for an hour and we get out of here. So I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Sandusky River Valley Beekeepers November meeting. Has everybody signed in? Okay, we have a member sign in and a visitor sign in log. So who didn't sign in? Okay, we'll get you signed in here. Hey, also, I want to mention we have cookies and coffee and water out here in the kitchen. So if you want something, go ahead and get yourself something. I don't want to see anybody's blood sugar drop low. And, you know. But I am trained in first aid. That's true. Hey, ask 10 beekeepers, you'll get 10 different answers. No. Hey, at this time, I'm going to ask Kim. Can you give me a microphone there, Mike? Yep. I'm going to ask Kim to go ahead and review last month's meeting minutes, and then we'll approve them.
Okay. President Gary Wiley called the regular October monthly meeting of the Sandusky River Valley Beekeepers Association at 7 p.m. on Monday, October 2nd, 2023 in Clyde, Ohio at the First United Methodist Church. Roll call was taken by signing in at the front table. The Zoom electronic connection was offered at this meeting. A total of 32 members were present, including 2 Zoom participants with 2 visitors. Those in attendance can be found on the attached sign-in sheets with the secretary's files. President had the following announcements: welcomed the club, offered cookies and coffee, talked about the OSBA Fall Conference, October 27th, 28th. Topics were going to be related to new beekeepers. Volunteers were needed to help out, and volunteers will be able to attend free. Honey bear bottles will be passed out to those who want to fill for the food pantries after the meeting. Officer nominations will be taken at the November meeting. The new bee class will be offered Saturday, February 24th and Saturday, March 9th. Registration forms are now on the SRVBA website. Class cost is $75, $25 for additional person. Requests for topics for the next year. Presentations this past month were given to various groups by the following members: Jamie Scott, Jamie Garza, and Tammy Wiley. Christmas party will be held on Monday, December 4th at 6 p.m. at the Ballville Township Volunteer Fire Department Community Hall. Treasurer Tammy Wiley reported $5,321.82 in the checking account and $25 in the savings account as of September 19th, 2023. The report was filed for audit with the secretary. Current membership is at 138. That does not include like a family membership when there's additional names. So there's actually more bodies for membership, but actual memberships is at 138. At that time, then we had Linda Miller as our guest speaker on hybridization. Some highlights were the 3 most important items to focus on: remove supers, clean excluders, treat for mites, check in on brood, eggs, larvae. Flip the inner cover, winter honey for the bees, winter feeding, pull the patties by the end of March. She explained the camp method of feeding: shim the hive, mouse guards in place, trim weeds, wrap hives, keep entrance open. Next month meeting will be on Monday, November 6th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the First United Methodist Church in Clyde, Ohio. The Monday, October 2nd, 2023 meeting was adjourned by Gary Wiley at 8 p.m. There were door prize donations, so we thank those people who donated, and they were hexagon ball jars and salt and pepper shakers.
Thank you, Kim. So do we have any comments on the meeting minutes from last meeting?
I move to be accepted.
Mike moves that we accept it. Do we have any second? That one will part. Okay, the minutes are approved. The next thing is we have the treasurer's report from Tammy.
As of October 31st, 2023, we had $5,273.85 in the checking and 25 in our savings. For a total of 5,298.85.
Thank you, Tammy. Chris, do you have anything from OSBA?
No, we had a good event. I think there was, 1, 2, 3, 4 of us maybe. Did anybody else go? Yeah.
Yep.
That's right, you did. I don't count you. Usually, yeah, so we had a good turnout, a lot of fun. I hope everybody learned something. Hope they all filled out the survey, yeah, whatever that was. And, hopefully we'll have another one next year. Do it that way. So that's about it, and I think you learned some more stuff in the president's thing about our insurance.
I did, and I'll be passing that along at the February meeting.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Chris.
What else was it? Insurance and, something else you were talking about. Oh, the, website.
All right, I just want to give a summary of where we're at for the year before we get into officer nominations. So this meeting that we had in November, this is reserved for us to go ahead and nominate officers for next year and any other open items that we might have. And then what we'll do, our next month at our regular meeting, it will be our annual meeting, which is our Christmas party. And we'll be having that at the Ballville Township Firehouse in Fremont. That'll be on December the 4th at 6 p.m. So our regular monthly meeting next month, the first Monday of the month, will be over at the Ballville Township Firehouse, 6 p.m. Our bylaws calls that our annual meeting, but that's kind of our time to get together, just kind of have some fun as a club. Well, it's a potluck, so everybody brings something. The club will provide the meat and we'll provide water and coffee. And there'll be lots of door prizes. You can buy raffle tickets. And we'll do a 50-50 drawing. But I think last year we might have had maybe 45 people or so that attended. But it's a good time. So that's next month. And at that meeting, we'll also do the elections. So that'll be by secret ballot, based on the nominations that we do tonight. And that will elect our officers for 2024. In January, we won't have a meeting. That's our off month. And then in February, we will have our business meeting to start the year off. And so February is when the officers will bring the calendar in and we'll show you, this is what we've got roughed out for the schedule for next year. That's why I've been asking for topics. So if you got a topic that you want to hear next year, doesn't matter what it is, send me an email. Let's get it on the list. I've heard from a few people already. I know the one person said they'd like to see us talk about Nosema. We kind of talked about that a little bit this year when we did the presentation on pests and diseases. It sounds like it's kind of an area that a lot of people is not very familiar with. And so I'm looking at maybe doing something with that, but I've received several suggestions. So if you got anything, please let us know. The other thing is we talked about the new beekeepers class. If there's anybody in the club that wants to attend the class, please let me know. There's 2 of them. February the 24th and March 9th. I'm getting ready to put a communication out to all the names that we've collected throughout the year. There's probably close to 100 names. And so I'm getting ready to put that email out and begin signing people up. I think we got one person that's officially signed up, but I think once we open the registration, the classes will fill up pretty rapidly. So if you're interested, if you feel like you need to go through the bee class again, make sure you let us know. And now that brings us to why we're here tonight. This is the time when we do our officer nominations for 2024. just want to talk a little bit about the officer role. So in our club, we have a president, vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary. We also have 3 directors. Now, the rules on these different positions, really, you need to be a voting member to be in one of these positions, and you need to attend the meetings regularly. All right. Now here's what I'll tell you. This is where I get to put my plug in for the club. If you've never thought about being an officer or anything, just, this is I'm getting ready to start my 3rd year as the president. And it's my last year because I will term limit out. But several of the positions term limit out after 3 years. But what I'll tell you is new blood in these positions is important. We have a club here with Kim had mentioned we have 138 voting members. And so figure each one of those members has a second person. So the club's actually much bigger than that. And so what I'll tell you is when you're thinking in the future about whether or not you would want to become part of the leadership team of the club, just remember new blood always makes the club better. New ideas, new approaches to things. The person I took over from, they carried the torch for several years. They did a great job. I felt like I had big shoes to fill whenever I took over. And so I got 1 more year, but I'm hoping there'll be somebody that'll come after me they'll do the same thing, that they'll have a passion for the club. And so with that, so we have a nominations and election committee. So is Doug Ritchie on the call? Okay. So the nomination and election committee this year was Doug Ritchie and Chris Earnhardt. And so throughout the year, the nominations and elections committee has been working on a list of folks who'd like to be nominated for positions. And so here's what our bylaws does is it has me bring this to the meeting, and I'm going to go over this with you. And we want to nominate these people for the positions. Plus, we want to nominate anybody else from the floor who would be interested in being in any of these positions. It might just be that Doug never made it around and talked to you. But what we like to do is make sure that anybody that has an interest in being an officer of the club, that your name's on the ballot. And then if you get the most votes, you get elected in that position. Any questions? Everybody with me? Yeah.
I'm with you.
Okay, good. All right. So let me go over this slate of nominations. And first of all, I just want to ask, for the president position, is there anyone in this room that would like to be the president next year? The other part of that, the person has to be willing. Hey, have any of you ever been to one of those meetings? Hey, have any of you ever been to one of those meetings at work where you didn't show up and then you go back to your desk and you find out, hey, somebody assigned me some action items. That never happens to anybody here, does it?
Pull the roster.
Yeah. So the nominations and election committee, I plan to run for president for this next year, 2024, and then I'm going to term limit out after that. So we will need a new president next year, unless somebody else wants to run. And
We now have a nomination on the floor. So,
well, the person has to want to run.
Right. yeah. Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
He's got big gear in the headlights. Look.
That's good. Like that old movie where all in favor step forward and everybody steps back except Mike. Okay, so the bylaws, what the bylaws does, it allows me to nominate from up here with this list. So is there anybody that wants to be the president other than me?
Or just run.
Or just run for president? Anybody? All right. The bylaws allows me to nominate myself.
I second your nomination.
Uva seconded my nomination. Okay, the nominations and election committee. We had one person that said that they might be interested in being the vice president. And that is Kathleen Kahn.
We have Kathleen Stan.
Stan, yep.
She is. Let's see who else.
I'd like to nominate Kathleen if she will accept.
I second that.
I'll accept the nomination.
All right. Is there anybody else that would like to run for vice president? Thank you, Kathleen. Okay, now we move on to the treasurer's position. So this treasurer and secretary this year, so Tammy is the treasurer. This is her third year being the treasurer, so she is term limiting out. So we need a new treasurer. And so right now we have Kim Root was identified by the nominations committee as someone that might consider being the treasurer. Kim, I nominate you to be the treasurer. Would you accept that, Kim? Okay. And then Kim right now is the secretary, so we will need a secretary. And so the nominations and election committee has identified Sue Kozakowski as someone that might be interested in that position. Sue, are you interested in being nominated?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to nominate Sue. Is there anyone else who would like to be the secretary? You know, someday with the club, every time we have an election, we're going to have at least 2 people on the ballot. Thank you, Sue.
Do we have a second for Sue?
Okay. Now, this is the directors, and I've got 3 people. 2 of them are not here, but I spoke with them by phone, and they accepted these if they would like to run. The first person for director is Mike Gergley. I nominate Mike to be a director.
I'll second that.
All right, so Mike will be running. We also have Rosemary Clifford. I spoke with Rosemary earlier tonight. She had a family thing that came up and she could not be here, but she wanted to make sure that she was nominated. Can I have a second on Rosemary? Okay. And then the third person is Doug Ritchie. I also spoke with him. He's in Florida tonight, but he also would like to be nominated to be on that ballot. So Doug Ritchie. Okay, now we have 3 director positions. Who else would like to run to be a director? Crickets.
I know this is a church, but we don't need to pray Monday night.
Hey, one thing I want to mention to you, the nominations and election committee, one of the things they came back to me with this year is they said, you know, our bylaws has 3 directors, and they're recommending that next year that we do a revision to our bylaws and increase that number of directors, because we'd like to get more people. They feel as though it would be beneficial to the club to get more people in that pipeline in those leadership positions, people that want to be a director for a couple of years and then move up. So we'll talk about that more at the February business meeting. We did find one other mistake in the bylaws. It says that we do these nominations in October. It's a minor thing, but we're really not doing what the bylaw says, and I want to get that fixed.
Gary, what is the role of a director? What's expected?
the director, what the directors really do, and it's in the bylaws, but I'll just paraphrase. What directors do is they make sure that, or they help the club make sure that they're on the right path, that we're getting the right topics, the right presentations, the right activities. They participate in all the meetings. They're voting members. And what they do is they basically become part of the leadership team, and they advocate for the club to make sure that the club is going in the right direction. That's really what the directors do. And it's typically been a position that people become directors, and then they'll often move up into another position, you know, after a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. So I was never a director, but I did the newsletter for several years. Tammy was a director. Kim was a director. Sue's been a director. It's kind of one of those positions that the leadership team is filled from.
All of those 3-year terms.
The directors do not have a 3-year term. The only ones with, and by the way, we're elected on 1-year terms, but the president, vice president, and treasurer is term limited out after 3 consecutive years. So, and that's for, if you think about it, that's for good reason. We don't want somebody to become the president for life, because that can really hurt a club. You know, you got to have new blood moving up.
Actually, the director's job is pretty easy, you know, we're not gonna sugarcoat that, but. I think it's really only mandatory 2 management meetings, so to speak, somewhere in January, maybe whenever you get back from Florida, we always had it.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, last year, what we did, after we elect the folks in December at the meeting, we're going to have a meeting around my kitchen table before we leave for Florida.
And it's a planning session.
Yeah, it's just a planning session.
And making sure the calendar's full, and maybe another meeting halfway through the year. The rest of the time, you do it mostly on phone.
Yeah.
You know, yes, back and forth. And it's a really a good thing to steer your club. You know, we are the ones that, as directors, we're able to go, well, that's not the path that the Constitution takes. You know, so we kind of here over here, and you know, field ideas and stuff. It's you know, it's a good way to get your feet wet and give back to the club. You know.
Yeah.
And there's 3 candidates for those 3 open positions. So this would be just throwing a 3rd or 4th.
Yep, that's all it is. That's all it is. And so what I would tell you, if there's anybody here that wants to be a director, throw your hand up, put your name on the ballot. Because what I'll tell you is, you know, if we have 5 people on the ballot for director, it's just going to be the top 3 vote getters become the directors. And so if anybody wants to be a director, please throw your hand up and let me know. Crickets.
Are you interested, Ed?
Having been on other councils, I just wanted to have some more information.
Yep.
And I know that oftentimes when there's open positions, you need to have two more than the open seats. And so I don't know what I don't know. And to your point, probably all in bylaws, and if I've been doing my homework, I don't know. Or online somewhere.
Yeah, actually, our bylaws and constitution is at our website. There's a header that says bylaws.
But for the benefit of all these much more experienced people out here, I thought I'd ask, and maybe they all knew the answer.
Yeah.
No.
Actually, I'd never read the bylaws until I was about to become president. Okay. So is there any final comments on the nominations? Anything anybody wants to bring up? Again, everybody's really quiet, so I'm going to bring something up. So I had a couple of questions at the beginning of the night, and it's a good time. We got plenty of time before, you know, we wrap up for tonight. But one question somebody fielded to me earlier is they said, hey, I'm looking at my hives. I noticed that most of my honey is in the upper brood box. not so much in the lower brood box. I got plenty of bees in both boxes. Should I go ahead and rotate them? What I told this person is I don't normally rotate my brood boxes this late in the year, that those bees are gonna move up anyway into that honey with a sugar board on top. Again, ask 10 beekeepers, you might get 10 different answers. Am I off track giving that advice? No. Okay. All right.
I took out 2 supers yesterday.
You took off 2 supers?
Yep.
Okay.
Went through and combined as many as I could and popped the bees down and wanted to compress as much as I could.
Yeah, yesterday was really a good day for the bees. Even today, they were really out flying. But, usually this time of the year, so just to let you know where we're at is, I'm making sugar boards right now. I think I've got maybe another, I don't know, 35 of them maybe to make or something. But I'm getting tired of making sugar boards. So we've opened the top entrances to the hive, you know how you'll close the upper entrance off whenever the yellow jackets are really bad. We had those 3 nights where it really got cold. And so snooping around the bee yard, I have not really seen any number of yellow jackets. I have to believe that most of them got terminated with the really cold temperatures. So I have opened the tops of my hives, the upper entrance, by sliding the telescoping cover forward. Let me tell you though what we found. We also flipped over our inner covers. And on several of those hives, I noticed that we're already beginning to draw moisture from those cold nights. So and I've got 25 nukes. And on nukes, I put an inner cover made for a nuke underneath my migratory lid. So it's got a little gap to let air in. And I noticed in the nukes that I had moisture on the top bars of the frames. So just those 3 cold nights, and I didn't have those vented yet, with some upper airspace, I was already getting moisture. So what that tells me, you should have your inner cover flipped over. Your notch should be down for the winter, right? The other thing is I plan to put my sugar boards on probably the week after Thanksgiving. I'm hoping it gets good and cold by then. But the sugar board gives us another hole for venting, to get rid of some of the moist air. Also, I still have my entrance reducers on, and my next step on those, probably within the next week or so, is I'll probably be replacing those with the mouse guards. The hives are all full of bees. I was down there again today. All the hives are throwing bees, so I don't think a mouse could get in there without getting attacked right now. But we live with lots of fields around us, so mice is the problem that we have to be concerned about. Yeah,
I put on all those quilt boxes and I put them on my Scheisse, die kleinen Dinger. The hive boxes, the swarm boxes, and they're beautiful. I put 3 inches of wood shavings on it. And it has 6 big holes, and it really seems to suck everything up really nicely.
Let me know what your success rate is this year on your hives. Just, I like to keep track of that, different ways of controlling moisture. So we rely a lot on our sugar boards to control the moisture. But let me know how that works out with the quilt boxes.
Are you putting your top lid on top of your sugar board? Right?
Yeah, so I put my sugar board right on top of my upper brood box or my upper super, and then I will put my inner cover right on top of the sugar board with the notch facing down, and then I will put my telescoping lid right on top of that. Now, something else I do in the wintertime is I take a piece of styrofoam that's cut the size of the telescoping cover and put it right on the top outside, and then put the concrete blocks right on top of the piece of styrofoam. Yeah.
I just read an article that they take that, like that blue board, they actually put it on the inside, underneath the top cover, telescope cover, that it helps absorb some of the moisture.
I've read that there's people that do that. I was talking to oh, what's the gentleman from New Hampshire? Palmer. Mike Palmer. I was talking to him about this. And one thing he warned me about is bees will chew up styrofoam. So you got to be careful with that. If you have styrofoam inside the hives, the bees will chew that up. So that's why I never went down that path of putting any type of styrofoam in the hive. So just to know, by the way, I don't know if it's true. That's what he told me.
Yeah, well,
I don't believe it because, I've got Romanian friends and all the Romanians put blue board inside their deeps on the outside too. They pull 2 frames out and put inch blue board. And they never have problems with it.
Yeah, I've never tried it. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I've been told.
I put it under the inner or the outer cover on one of those slope ties, my little 8-ring thing. And it never touched that. However, I also put it on the outside and on my upper opening, I kind of put it up over it so they can get out still. They chewed a hole right through it. Made a nice little round tunnel right through that.
I got foam hives from Finland, and they won't chew through a box. But I had some get up top, and there's little things you can remove for vents, and they made themselves a outlet up there.
Really?
They gnawed through
Shoot
that.
through it?
Yeah, they never touched the box.
Huh. All right. Well, it's good to know. It's something I've never tried. If you try any of those things, make sure you let the club know for experience. So as it comes up again, we got good information to put out to people. All right. Hey, with that, we've got a bunch of bears up here. Yeah, Kim.
You can just say that nominations are closed.
Oh. No, nominations are closed. Thanks,
So this
Jim.
is where we tell them they could have got mileage.
Hold on a second. This is the new SRVBA gavel. It was donated to us. I've asked that this be fitted with a piece of wood that it goes with. So from now on, this is going to be the gavel for the president. Okay. So we're going to, Kim, I'm not sure how to do this in an orderly way. But we've got bears up here that we need to label, and we want to decorate them up some. So we've got confetti. You can shut me off.